So California is apparently exploding again. If you've glanced at the news lately, you'd think the entire state is on the verge of spontaneous combustion, metaphorically and sometimes quite literally. It's almost become a running joke. What's California up to this week? Earthquakes, wildfires, mass exodus, all of the above? The Golden State, land of sunshine, movie stars, and, if you believe the headlines, a civilization on the brink. It's the place where dreams are made, but also apparently where they come to a dramatic, fiery end. The palm trees sway, the beaches glisten, and yet the narrative is always teetering between paradise and apocalypse. Every morning there's a new bulletin, California engulfed in flames, or everyone is fleeing California, usually with a dramatic photo that barely matches reality. The news cycle loves a good disaster, and California, with its wildfires, earthquakes, and sky-high rents, is the perfect headline generator. It's almost as if the state is a character in a never-ending soap opera, always on the edge of some new catastrophe. The narrative? California is one bad day away from sliding into the Pacific. Lattes and yoga mats in tow. It's a punchline, a meme, a cautionary tale for the rest of the country. The cliffs are eroding, the rents are rising, and the avocado toast is apparently both the cause and the cure for all of the state's problems. It's a story that's simple, dramatic, and honestly a little too convenient. It's easy to reduce California to a series of disasters and exoduses, but that's only half the story. The truth, as always, is a lot messier and a lot more interesting, but stories that are too perfect usually aren't true. The reality is layered, complicated, and full of contradictions. For every headline screaming about doom, there's a quieter story about resilience, innovation, and people who refuse to give up on the California dream. For every person calling it a dystopian nightmare, there's another paying 7 figures for a bungalow in an up-and-coming neighborhood. The housing market is wild, but so is the optimism. People still flock here, hoping to carve out their own slice of sunshine, no matter the cost. For every company leaving for Texas, a new tech startup is born in a Silicon Valley garage. The cycle of reinvention never really stops. California is a magnet for dreamers, risk-takers, and those who believe that the next big thing is just around the corner, even if the rent is astronomical. The truth is buried somewhere between the hysterical headlines and the glossy tourism brochures. California is both a cautionary tale and a beacon of hope, depending on where you look and who you ask. It's a place of extremes where disaster and opportunity often walk hand in hand. So let's wade through the noise and investigate. Is California really circling the drain, or is it just a wildly expensive, complicated place that somehow keeps going? Is it a failed state, or is it simply a state that refuses to fit into anyone's neat little box? Maybe it's both, or maybe it's something else entirely. Spoiler, it's a bit of both. California is a paradox, a place where luxury condos rise next to homeless encampments, where innovation and inequality are neighbors, and where the dream persists even as the challenges mount. The California dream isn't dead, it's just stuck in traffic on the 405. It's delayed maybe, but it's still alive, honking its horn and inching forward 1 mile at a time. Welcome to the beautiful, sun-kissed, chaotic mess. This is California, a place of contradictions, of endless reinvention, and of stories that are never quite as simple as they seem. Let's tackle the so-called California exodus. You've probably seen the headlines and heard the stories. California is supposedly emptying out, with moving trucks lined up at the border. But is that really the whole picture, or just a catchy narrative? The media paints a picture of a mass stampede, families fleeing high taxes and decent weather. News outlets love to show images of packed boxes and for sale signs, suggesting that everyone is desperate to escape the Golden State. Yes, more people have left California than moved in recently. That's real. The numbers show a net loss, and it's true that some longtime residents are packing up and heading elsewhere. They're heading to Texas, Arizona, Idaho, places where a house costs less than a California garage. Lower housing costs, fewer taxes, and sometimes a slower pace of life are big draws for those looking to stretch their dollars further. But let's add context. California has nearly 40 million people. It's the most populous state in the country, and its cities are still bustling with life, culture, and opportunity. A net loss of a few 100,000 is a blip, not an evacuation. In percentage terms, it's a small shift, less than 1% of the population. The state is still home to millions who choose to stay. The party's still going, just with a few guests leaving early. California's vibrant communities, festivals, and outdoor gatherings haven't disappeared. life goes on, and for many, the state's appeal remains strong. Most who leave are lower and middle-income residents priced out of their own communities, not people who hate the beach. Rising rents and home prices have made it tough for many families to stay, especially in cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco. Meanwhile, California still attracts highly educated, high-income workers from around the world. Tech professionals, entrepreneurs, and students continue to flock to the state's universities and innovation hubs, drawn by opportunity and lifestyle. So it's not a simple exodus, it's an economic reshuffling. The faces in California's neighborhoods may be changing, but the state remains a magnet for talent and ambition. Some are forced out, others are still clamoring to get in. For every family that leaves, there's often someone new arriving, eager to make California their home. The state's population has dipped, but it's far from a ghost town. California's cities are still crowded, its highways still jammed, and its beaches still packed on sunny weekends. The real story is about affordability, not abandonment. The challenge is making sure that more people can afford to stay and thrive in California, rather than being pushed out by rising costs. So, while the headlines shout exodus, the truth is more nuanced, and the California story is far from over. The number one reason people leave California: money. It's not just a talking point, it's a reality that hits home for millions. Every year, more and more Californians are packing up their lives and heading for the exit, not because they want to, but because their wallets are practically begging them to. The cost of living here is astronomically high, enough to make you question your life choices. From the moment you wake up, you're reminded that everything costs more, from your morning coffee to your monthly rent. Even a simple trip to the grocery store can feel like a luxury shopping spree. Housing is the main villain. The median home price could buy you a mansion elsewhere. In California, a starter home often means a tiny bungalow with a price tag that would make your eyes water. Meanwhile, that same money could get you a sprawling house with a yard and maybe even a pool in another state. Renters pay thousands for cozy apartments that barely fit a bed. Forget about having a home office or a guest room. Here, you're lucky if you can squeeze in a dresser. And don't even think about parking. That's a whole other battle. The affordability crisis has spread everywhere, turning homeownership into a cruel joke. Open houses are packed, bidding wars are the norm, and families are forced to make impossible choices just to stay afloat. And it's not just housing. Gas, groceries, even burritos cost more. Filling up your tank can feel like a major financial decision, and grabbing lunch at your favorite spot might mean skipping dinner later in the week. It's a relentless squeeze that grinds people down, forcing longer hours just to tread water. The daily grind isn't just about chasing dreams, it's about surviving, about making it to the next paycheck without falling behind. For many, it's not about politics, it's about simple math. When your expenses keep climbing but your paycheck stays the same, the numbers just don't add up. People are forced to make tough decisions, cutting back on essentials and rethinking their future. Move to another state, take a pay cut, and still end up ahead. That's hard to ignore. Suddenly, the idea of a fresh start somewhere more affordable doesn't sound so crazy. It sounds like freedom. People aren't fleeing sunshine, they're fleeing a system where the cost of entry is too high. The beaches, the weather, the culture, they're all amazing, but they can't make up for the constant financial pressure. The California dream is tough to chase when you're worried about making rent. Dreams of success and happiness get replaced by anxiety over bills and the fear of falling behind. The hustle is real and it's exhausting. For many, the dream is slipping further away, not because they aren't working hard, but because the math just doesn't work anymore. If the cost of living doesn't scare you, critics point to crime. Viral videos of smash-and-grab robberies and car break-ins fuel the narrative of chaos. The homelessness crisis is highly visible and feeds a sense of disorder. But let's get real. While property crime has spiked in some areas, violent crime rates are still far below the 1990s. The perception of lawlessness is often shaped by dramatic headlines, not daily reality. Homelessness is a massive policy failure, but it's not the same as a crime wave. California's problems with public safety are real, but the lawless wasteland image is exaggerated. The truth is more complicated and less cinematic. Taxes, California's other claim to fame. The state has the highest top marginal income tax rate in the country, plus high sales and gas taxes. Critics say these taxes drive out the wealthy and businesses, painting the government as a money-hungry beast. Why stay when you could move to Texas or Florida and get an instant raise? But here's the flip side. All that tax money funds things many residents value: world-class universities, social programs, environmental protections, and infrastructure. High taxes are the price of admission for ambitious public services and big goals. Whether that's worth it is the heart of California's political debate. The tax burden is real, but so are the benefits. The question isn't just how much do you pay, but what do you get? For some, the trade-off works. For others, it's a deal breaker, and that's why the debate never ends. If you've ever driven in a California city, you know traffic isn't just a nuisance, it's a way of life. Freeways are legendary parking lots, and the time wasted is staggering. The real culprit? Aging, overburdened infrastructure that hasn't kept up with population growth. Many roads and bridges date back to the 1950s and 60s, never designed for today's traffic. The result? Potholes, crumbling bridges, and endless construction. Ambitious projects like high-speed rail are slow, expensive, and mired in politics. The infrastructure deficit hurts businesses, commuters, and quality of life. It's a daily reminder that things are broken, and fixing them is painfully slow. When you're stuck in traffic, it's easy to believe California's falling apart. Sometimes the evidence is right outside your car window. As if man-made problems weren't enough, California is in a constant battle with Mother Nature. Wildfires are now a year-round menace, fueled by climate change and drought. Entire towns have burned, and smoke can turn the sky apocalyptic. But it's not just fire. Droughts and then sudden floods create weather whiplash. The coast is eroding, highways collapse, and beachfront homes face the rising Pacific. Billions are spent fighting a relentless rising tide. And always there's the looming threat of the big one, the earthquake everyone knows is coming. Californians live with a low-level anxiety about disaster. The state's beauty is matched by its instability. Living here means accepting that nature can turn on you at any moment. It's a beautiful, dangerous balancing act. Beyond the practical problems, California is a political battleground. Supporters see it as a beacon of progress, leading on climate, diversity, and innovation. Detractors call it a woke wasteland, blaming left-wing policies for homelessness, crime, and high costs. Every issue becomes a culture war with no room for nuance. California is a proxy for America's identity crisis. The political noise drowns out honest debate and practical solutions. Instead of fixing real problems, politicians score points for their base. Residents are left to deal with the consequences. The state's challenges become props in a national drama. Time for a reality check. California's problems are real, but so are its successes. The economy? Massive. Over $3.8 trillion a year. If it were a country, it'd be the world's fifth largest. That's not a sign of collapse. California is home to Hollywood and Silicon Valley, global centers of entertainment and tech. These industries shape how the world communicates, works, and plays. The state attracts the brightest minds and most ambitious entrepreneurs. For every company that leaves, dozens of startups are born. Millions still want to stay, or move here. Natural beauty, cultural diversity, and top universities remain huge draws. California isn't just surviving on past glory, it's actively creating the future. It's flawed, but it's a juggernaut. The dream is battered, but not broken. The story is bigger than the headlines. So is California really collapsing? The simple answer, no. The honest answer, it's complicated. California is both paradise and hellscape, sometimes on the same street. The cost of living is crushing, homelessness is a crisis, and infrastructure is strained. The political environment is toxic, and the dream feels out of reach for many. But California's resilience is legendary. Declared over many times, it keeps reinventing itself and wielding global influence. Its economy, culture, and innovation are unmatched. It's a magnet for talent and ambition from around the world. California is a mess, but a productive, forward-looking mess. It's a test of whether a diverse, progressive society can solve big problems without losing its ideals. The state's challenges are a preview of what the rest of the world will face. California is stumbling, but it's not collapsing. The real question isn't if it will survive, but what it will become. Thank you for watching Informed Tourist. Please like and subscribe. Now check this video out.